Hi, yeah. So, I'm pretty much looking forward to season 10 of Supernatural. When I saw in the last episode with Dean's eyes going black, like, I was thinking to myself, I want Dean to be evil. I want him to be, like, flat out murdering people and burning down orphanages, just flat out villain shit, and kind of being, like, Deaness, like, and jealous. And, it seems like, maybe that's not totally what's gonna happen, but, he is chasing after Sam with an axe and being really sexy as being evil and a demon. Well, I mean, David Boreanaz is super hot of season 2 of Buffy, too, when he's Angelus, so that's not exactly a surprise. But yeah, pretty much looking forward to it. And I think one of the reasons why I can say that, yeah, bring on season 10 is because I liked season 9. Now, a lot of people, I guess, had a lot of problems with it where they see it as being like this vastly different thing than season 8, which is supposedly, the way more superior season. But I don't see it that way. And I suppose part of it is because, I've always had my expectations adjusted for a certain way for Supernatural. You see, I don't have this kind of relationship that I have with any other fiction that I do with Supernatural. Like with Buffy, I can talk about, how great and awesome and beautiful and wonderful it is and all the things I love about it and how top to bottom I just think it's great and wonderful and awesome. Can do that with like the X-Files and like Harry Potter and True Blood and stuff like that. But I can't say that for Supernatural because on a whole I like Supernatural, but I love parts of it. And I think parts are just like really good and the best of any kind of fiction. But other stuff really holds it back. And so I suppose to me, if Supernatural has a string of bad or really okay episodes, it doesn't devastate me on any level. I'm not like, oh, this show betrayed me, it's horrible, the writers hate like this group of people, they hate their fans and they're mocking their fans. No, that's not me with this season because I didn't see it as being hugely different than season 8. I mean, I do think season 8 was better, but I still like season 9 and liked it a lot and even loved parts of it. Pretty much the stuff I've always loved about Supernatural. Like, I've always loved the tertiary and side characters more than I love Sam and Dean, and really the tertiary and side characters have really been my biggest reason for watching it, because their arcs are usually, they're quicker to change, the tertiary and side characters, than Sam and Dean. With Sam and Dean, like their issues, I just last night watched with my sister The Kids Are Alright, and I see that and catch wind of all of the issues that Dean has, about his future and family and wanting one but totally convinced he'll never ever have it. And it's like these are still issues that he has 6 years later. Dean and Sam really don't get to change, and that's really frustrating to watch, but the tertiary and side characters do. And like Gadriel was, for me in season 9, like this wonderful surprise. I like my sister and I call the actor Paul Ballard because he was on Dollhouse, and that's where we first watched him. And I'm sure if I tried to pronounce his name, whatever, the actor who played Gadriel, who wasn't Jared Padalecki. And really the thing, I'm sad that we didn't get more of this character and more of the story of what happened in the garden between him and Lucifer, where Lucifer convinced Gadriel that letting him in was a good idea. And also his relationship with Abner is really intriguing to me because for me, like, I read it, I'm like, Gadriel is totally in love with Abner, right? That's what I was supposed to get from that, because that's what I did. I thought he was honestly in love with him. Of course, that's all subtext, but still, there's, character who made me think, made me want more of him, made me more interested in the show and the story and the bigger story of things. And, I love Crowley. Crowley to me, I've said on my Tumblr, he was my biggest source of joy this season, was Crowley. And, I've always loved Crowley. Honestly think he's one of the best villains of anything I've ever watched ever. He's one of my favorites. And, of all the characters in the world. And one thing that was extremely satisfying to me was, watching him deal with this humanness. And in the last episode, in the last scene, I kind of thought to myself, is he just doing this because he wants to more secure his power in Hell, as King of Hell, by having, Dean be his ally? Or does he honestly want a companion, a partner, maybe romantic, maybe not, that's not really that important. But, and I think that having gone through the experience of having human emotions has actually made Crowley more sinister and more deadly than he was before without, having this experience. So I love Crowley, loved his development, enjoyed the crap out of him this season. And, Castiel is also a huge reason why I watch the show and why I care about it. And, I do agree that, like, the first half of the season when he was human, I think the big problem in the writer's room was that they never really had a direction for Cass as a human. Because, I don't know, somebody, like, made a critique of like the writers having a bad direction, and I said no, I don't think that was the problem. I think that they had no direction really, or really like 3 or 4 different directions, because we see in Heaven Can't Wait, he wants to get away from heaven and try to make it as a human person now. But then in Holy Terror, was that episode 9, whatever, where he comes back, the mid-season finale, he's all like, I'm hunted and I want to figure out, what's going on. And it's like, wasn't that just the antithesis to what happened, in I'm No Angel? Where was the transition? Obviously that happened off screen, but we don't see it. So, when he just shows up again in that state of mind, it's a little, what the fuck just happened? And I guess, another thing, people were like, oh, Cass should have been in more episodes. He was a series regular, and clearly that, should have been in more. It's not all about quantity, guys. I think it's more about quality. And still, for the amount of time that Cass was in the season, I think his, development and his arc is still of more quality than just about anyone's in the whole show, including Sam and Dean. Because, the way he navigates, his relationships and his purposes, makes emotional sense to me. It's resonant, it's honest, it's real, as real as fiction can be, but of course it can be very real. And that's good. I'm not terribly offended by the lack of Cass this season in terms of how much he was in it, because I felt, the quality made up for it, even in the first half of, like, where are we taking him as a human. I think that was kind of can be explained because they knew that they weren't going to have him be human for very long. So they kind of fudged on that. And yeah, I'm No Angel was a horrible episode. Terrible, terrible episode. And one of the things is, the big like wanky reason of the dub con no con stuff. Like I think like even without that, even without taking that unfortunate implication stuff into consideration, it's a terrible episode. Things are both told and shown like the audience has is like a fruit fly, where their attention span is like the life of a fruit fly. And it's there are jokes that don't work and scenes that go nowhere, and that scenes are in there that are ultimately, have no purpose. And, the chemistry between April and Cass from a writing standpoint really makes no sense. It just entirely, good work to Misha and the actress who played April, because, if it wasn't for them, a lot of the burden was put on them to find like, why do these two characters want to fuck, and I think that they pulled it off. And yeah, they had to do a lot of work there, because the writing wasn't there for them to give them reason to connect. So awful episode clearly, but Buck Lemming writes awful episodes. Like, last season it was Taxi Driver, which has more holes in it than any other episode in the whole series. So yeah, but really, actually, I thought more Buck Lemming episodes were okay, because they wrote 4. I thought 3 were pretty okay. Especially because 2 out of those were myth arcs, and probably all of the character and story beats were all planned out beforehand. So basically all they had to do was put words in the characters' mouths, and that was it. So yeah, as always with Supernatural, more bad than good. Of course, I have criticisms of it, like I do of every season, but for the most part, I like it. And Christ, Rock in a Hard Place, like a lot of people seem to really hate Rock in a Hard Place, but and I tried to hate it. I tried, to really like think that the episode was problematic, but I didn't really, and I don't, and I don't think that it's a great episode, but I think that it's a perfectly fine one. I love Jody, and I like her interaction with Sam, and I think the villain is actually pretty fun. And I know, yeah, Dean was kind of creepy with Susie, I think her name was. But again, like, Dean is a character who very much enjoys and values casual sex, and as much as we kind of wish that wasn't true sometimes, because we want him to have that permanent, lasting, loving, all conditional love that he really wants and needs. Right now, this is what he likes, so too bad, in my opinion. Just have to accept that, or you don't, I guess. So yeah, I liked 9th season, and gonna keep watching the show, gonna keep liking the show. Pretty much all of my issues that I have are reconciled with things I like, or I've reasoned them out for myself. So yeah, sayonara, auf Wiedersehen.